Student Life, Student Voices is brought to you by Stoepel Ford in Kerrville, Central Texas Electric Co-op, Joseph Financial Partners in Fredericksburg, Medical Arts Pharmacy in Kerrville, and Totality over Texas in Stonewall.
Welcome to Student Live, Student Voices, conversations on topics that matter to young people and those that care about them. A production of HC Broadcasting.
This is Steve Maxwell with KNAF in Fredericksburg, and we're coming to you today from the administrative offices at Kerrville Independent School District, and we're sitting with Amy Weiser, she's been in school counseling for 14 years, and she is now the Safe and Supportive Schools Programs Coordinator for the Kerrville Independent School District. She's agreed to speak with us today for our first show, and we're privileged to be here with her. Can you tell us a legal definition of bullying?
Yes. So Texas Education Code identifies it and lays it out as bullying is a single significant act or a pattern of acts by one or more students that's directed at another student, and it exploits an imbalance in power. It affects them physically, or it puts the student in reasonable fear of harm, and it's sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive. And so it's going to create an intimidating or threatening or even abusive environment.
In 2019, the National Center for Education Statistics stated that nearly 1 in 4, or 22%, of children ages 12 to 18 reported being bullied in school. Knowing how critical this topic is, KNAF AM 910 and local school districts are undertaking a series of conversations about bullying. This episode is the result of 2 such conversations, one held at Kerrville ISD with Amy Weiser, Safe and Supportive School Program Coordinator, and at Comfort ISD with Superintendent Yvonne Munoz, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction Jerry Adams, and High School Counselor Deanna Brummett. Conversations also include moderators KNAF's own Steve Maxwell and Trish Dwyer-Morgan. These conversations are ongoing and will eventually include students, additional school districts in our listening area, and past and present survivors of bullying. The content has been edited to tell the story, for clarity, and to fit in the time allowed.
I'm Jerry Adams, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Comfort ISD. Bullying it's a reality, just not only just across Texas, but just across the nation. That's why we have specific guidelines and policies and how to address that, because the bottom line is we want all students to have the very best educational experience, the best school experience possible, and if there's anything which gets in the way of that, we want to be able to have a system and structures in place where we can support all of our students so they have the best experience possible. Mm-hmm. Of course, we have a board policy which outlines bullying, but it could be a single significant act, or it could be a pattern of behavior. It could be verbal, it could be physical, it could be digital, cyberbullying, and you also look at is there an imbalance of power?
Yes.
And so, for example, the 5 of us, if I can get my math right and count real quick, the 5 of us, the 4 of you are just really, pouring on me, it's 4 against 1, that's an imbalance of power. And so, and just really, but it also goes into what's the relationship amongst us. So is it just giving me a hard time, and you think that I like it, or is it does it cross that line? And then if I think that you've said something that crosses the line, or it's hurt my feelings, or I feel like it's an imbalance of power on there, is me verbalizing that, and then do you stop? And so if we're a group of 5 friends, you're like, oh man, I didn't mean, that's not what I meant by that. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes teenagers and adolescents don't, always make the best, decision-making processes. Sometimes adults don't do as well.
I was going to say, does that ever stop?
Yeah, and then so, when that continues, that's when some of those reporting or finding those safe adults in the building that want to provide that help with that, because it's just going back to those conversations. Because, when it all goes back down, for any of us to be able to learn, we have to have the chemicals in our brain set up where we can learn. And when we feel stressed or threatened or not safe, there's chemicals in our brain that impairs learning. And so we need to make sure that we're in safe spots, because once we feel that way and we're physiologically in a mode where we can learn, that's when the business of school gets to happen, and that higher order learning.
That's a great point.
And so it's just critical with that.
We'll be back with more of the conversation after these words from our sponsors.
CTEC is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. From lighting up your homes to powering local businesses, we've been your reliable source of energy for over 75 years. But CTEC is not just about electricity. From sponsoring local school programs to supporting community events, Central Texas Electric Co-op is all about giving back. In fact, concern for community is one of our guiding principles. With every flip of the switch, we're working together to build a brighter future. Visit our website or drop by our office today. Central Texas Electric Co-op, powering homes, empowering communities.
Calling all Eclipse visionaries. Totality Over Texas, based here in Fredericksburg, has all your Eclipse essentials covered. ISO certified Eclipse glasses, commemorative t-shirts, and more, all custom designed with Texas in mind. It's time to get ready for the ultimate celestial spectacle. Visit www.totalityovertx.com and make sure all eyes are on you during the eclipse. That's totalityovertexas.com.
This is Steve Maxwell here at Texas Rebel Radio, and I want to talk to you just a second about Ken Stoepel Ford in Kerrville. They're not just a great company to buy your next vehicle from or to get your vehicle serviced. The Stoepels are deeply involved in the communities they serve. They give you their time and resources to Habitat for Humanity, Junior Livestock Scholarships, Kerr County Young Life, Harper and Medina Volunteer Fire Departments, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the United Way, and many more. They touch every community in this listening area in some way. There are some good companies in our Texas Hill Country, but the one company that stands out as an advocate for all of us is Ken Stoepel Ford. When you consider purchasing your next vehicle or servicing the ones you have, please give Ken Stoepel Ford a chance to show you what they are all about: honesty, integrity, and a willingness to get involved in their Hill Country community. They have been Hill Country proud since 1966, and they would love nothing more than to prove it to you. Find them at stoepelford.com.
Welcome back to Student Lives, Student Voices. We've been discussing what bullying is and why it matters that we have these conversations.
Why does it matter that we get the kids talking about it?
Amy Weiser.
Yes, I think it's really important that as adults we talk about it so the kids are willing to talk about it. Because if an adult says it's taboo or doesn't talk about it, sometimes a kid will feel like no one understands, I'm the only one, or they don't really get what I'm going through. And I know the Center for Disease and Control says that bullying leads to lower self-esteem. It can increase students isolating themselves. It can lead to poor performance in schools. So we want to make sure that we open that door so kids are able to speak up and talk about what's going on. And when they speak up, they're no longer dealing with it internally, but they are able to then reach out for help.
Dr. Yvonne Munoz, Superintendent of Comfort ISD.
And I guess the goal of Comfort ISD is to make sure that we bring awareness to this serious issue, and so that our young students understand, that this is something that we're not going to take very lightly, bullying in our schools.
What do you think are the types of questions that are actually going to make this useful to the students and to the people that care about them?
Deanna Brummett, I'm the high school counselor for Comfort High School. I think it's important to ask them things like, have they ever been bullied? Are they a bully? Have they, taken a part in that? Like, do they understand what that is? Because a lot of times we get reports of bullying when it's, in fact, a quarrel students are in. And so to know that definition and the distinction between the two, and for parents to know that as well. And then for the kids to be able to share, like, their experiences, because, I don't know, it's just really important to ask them to share those things, and I think they probably have more solutions for things than probably we do as adults.
That brings me to sort of the point of this whole exercise, if you want to call it that. We want to give the students a platform. We want to give them a voice. They need to have a voice. They need to know that people are listening and that we want them to be heard. We have a heart for these kids. Can you put a face on bullying? I mean, I know we've got cyberbullying, we've got physical bullying, we've got mental intimidation, we've got lots of things going on, but there's some things that are very new to some of our older listeners that they didn't have to deal with.
Amy Weiser.
Yes. So, back when I was in school, if there was some bullying that happened, it happened at school or in the community at the playground. But I got to go home and I got to escape from it and be safe and loved with my family. And so I had that reprieve. Now we introduce the internet and cyberbullying. And now all of a sudden our students could possibly be bullied 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know this isn't the latest research, but a while back they were saying that the prime time for cyberbullying was 2 a.m. in the morning. And so for me, that was like, okay, for my kid, their phones aren't going to be with them at night. We're going to have a central charging location place. And that was like a big aha for me because I was like, wait, they're supposed to be sleeping. Aren't all kids sleeping at that time? And so the cyberbullying has really changed things. It's no longer just the physical or the social isolation. We do see a lot of that relational aggression still, but that relational aggression is being seen on social media, on platforms. It can be text, it can be snaps, it can be direct messages. I mean, there's so many ways now, and it's hard. There's so many new apps coming out as a parent, and knowing this stuff, I try to stay on top of it, and it is very difficult for me to do that. And I know a parent who, isn't in the mix looking at this stuff every day, it can be even more challenging.
Do you own a business looking for a unique way to celebrate the Eclipse events? Totality over Texas specializes in crafting custom Eclipse glasses that'll turn heads towards your brand and set you apart from the crowd during the celestial event. Several local businesses have already seized the spotlight with custom-made Eclipse glasses. Visit totalityovertx.com to view our products and place your order. That's totalityovertexas.com.
CTEC is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. From lighting up your homes to powering local businesses, we've been your reliable source of energy for over 75 years. But CTEC is not just about electricity. From sponsoring local school programs to supporting community events, Central Texas Electric Co-op is all about giving back. In fact, concern for community is one of our guiding principles. With every flip of the switch, we're working together to build a brighter future. Visit our website or drop by our office today. Central Texas Electric Co-op, powering homes, empowering communities.
This is Steve Maxwell here at Texas Rebel Radio, and I want to talk to you just a second about Stoepel Ford in Kerrville. They're not just a great company to buy your next vehicle from or to get your vehicle serviced. The Stoepels are deeply involved in the communities they serve. They give you their time and resources to Habitat for Humanity, Junior Livestock Scholarships, Kerr County Young Life, Harper and Medina Volunteer Fire Departments, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the United Way, and many more. They touch every community in this listening area in some way. There are some good companies in our Texas Hill Country, but the one company that stands out as an advocate for all of us is Stoepel Ford. When you consider purchasing your next vehicle or servicing the ones you have, please give Stoepel Ford a chance to show you what they are all about. Honesty, integrity, and a willingness to get involved in their Hill Country community. They have been Hill Country proud since 1966, and they would love nothing more than to prove it to you. Find them at stoepelford.com.
This is Student Lives, Student Voices. Our education experts have been putting a face on bullying. Dr. Yvonne Munoz.
I guess today, the difference between the past and now is, like you said, it used to be just physical maybe in the past, but now it's more, it could be social bullying, online cyberbullying. So there is a huge difference from the past, especially, me being an 80s kid. It's different than it is today.
In 2019, Texas Senate School Safety Bill SB 11 was passed, allowing schools to combat and prevent cyberbullying by empowering them to investigate and address off-campus cyber-assisted bullying. if it materially affects the school environment. It requires school districts to include cyberbullying in their district bullying policies and notify a child's parents if he or she is a victim or alleged aggressor of bullying.
Deanna Brummett. And like Dr. Munoz said, bullying has changed so much from when we were kids. They've got so many more things and so more pathways for people to bully each other, whereas we could go home and it was done, And these kids, they go home and it continues.
You have to worry about social media.
Yeah.
What's somebody going to put out there? They're going to put a picture. What they're
Or-
going to say about me.
Yeah.
The impacts of bullying that happen at school in terms of our ability to learn, but there's also impacts at home as well, since it can follow then home. What would that look like?
Not wanting to talk about things, what happened with their day, not wanting to go to school or expressing, not wanting to go back to school or not liking a class or sick. They come home, they've got a headache, they're tired, they just want to go to bed. They want to isolate themselves because they don't know how to deal with it. And especially if it's been going on for a long time, they feel like nobody's listening to them. And that a lot of times I think parents, and I raised 4 children that are grown, thank goodness, and we think that we always think we tell our kids, oh, don't worry about it, or do this, say this back, or walk away, or this or that. Sometimes they can't, The kids that do come in here and report to me, like especially the social bullying online, I really try to teach them to block and to walk away from it, because I said, it's online, and it's just like if you're staying there letting that person keep saying those things to you, like you've got to break that communication. And the kids will sometimes say, oh, I have to know what they're saying about me. And I'm like, no, you really don't. Like, you've got to stop, because bullies tend to keep bullying the people that get upset with them when they make fun of them or target them.
What should parents be looking for when their students come home, when their children come home in the afternoon? What kind of signs should they be looking for that maybe their child's been bullied or has a problem?
Parents should really look for some of the signs that I see here when kids come in is they're not wanting to come to school. They're avoiding going to certain classes because there's students in there that bother them. Stomach ache, they get, they come in and say they got a stomach ache or a headache and want to call mom to come pick them up or dad to come pick them up. And that's when you really have to stop and go, okay, well, there's got to be a reason that they're not wanting to go. And even if it's been going on for a long time, it may be someone that they've been exposed to for a long time, or just different groups that have been targeting them, and they just don't know how to deal with that.
Jerry Adams.
And that's a fantastic question. It always goes back to, just those conversations that you have with your kids when they come home and tell me about your day. Just have an open-ended question and just listen and have that consistent, have a safe space to be able to do that. And, when your kids are talking to you, don't jump in with like solutions or solving the problems or suggestions. Just let them be able to talk. And a lot of times they come up with kind of their action plans or with their solutions with that. But just being able to hear what they have to say, hear their voice, their perspective of whatever has happened, and then just ask questions about so what do you think about that, or what would be another next good step.
Stay tuned to KNAF AM 910. Our final segment of this week's episode on bullying is coming up right after this.
This is Steve Maxwell, Sales Director here at HC Broadcasting, and I'm careful about giving personal endorsements, but Ken Stoepel Ford in Kerrville is a no-brainer. I recommend them without reservation. My wife bought the last truck we purchased from Ken Stoepel, and she told me she will never buy from another car dealer. They won't be satisfied until you are happy with the service you receive. That's why Ford Motor Company gave them their President's Award. Ford dealers get this when they meet or exceed customer expectations in every department. They also give back to Hill Country schools and communities. I asked my friend Terry Massey, their general manager, if they would help with our radio show about bullying. He didn't ask me what Ken Stoepel would get out of the sponsorship. He just said, sign us up. That's the Stoepels I know. The next time you need a vehicle or service, go see the folks that really care about people in the Hill Country. Go see Ken Stoepel Ford. Find them at stoepelford.com.
Calling all Eclipse visionaries. Totality over Texas, based here in Fredericksburg, has all your Eclipse essentials covered. ISO certified Eclipse glasses, commemorative t-shirts, and more, all custom designed with Texas in mind. It's time to get ready for the ultimate celestial spectacle. Visit www.totalityovertx.com and make sure all eyes are on you during the eclipse. That's totalityovertexas.com.
CTEC is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. From lighting up your homes to powering local businesses, we've been your reliable source of energy for over 75 years. But CTEC is not just about electricity. From sponsoring local school programs to supporting community events, Central Texas Electric Co-op is all about giving back. In fact, concern for community is one of our guiding principles. With every flip of the switch, we're working together to build a brighter future. Visit our website or drop by our office today. Central Texas Electric Co-op, powering homes, empowering communities.
In Student Lives, Student Voices, we're exploring what bullying is, what it looks like, and what can be done about it. This is just the first episode of several on this topic.
Why is it important to get kids involved in solving the problem of bullying along with adults?
Amy Weiser.
I think anytime we pull kids into it, it empowers them. And when we talk about what bullying is, there's an imbalance of power right there. And so anytime that we can help kids claim back that power and be able to be a positive change or reach out and talk about it, we're allowing them to be able to take back their own power and then even be able to help others and make a difference.
How do they use that power for themselves and for others in a way that's safe for them and others?
Yes. And so I think when we think about children, teens, youth, they're told often what to do. And that's important because their brain isn't fully developed. That prefrontal cortex, which is what we use to make our good, sound, rational decisions, isn't fully developed. So they need a lot of guidance and direction from parents, and they need those people who've been there, done that, and have that wisdom. But they also need to be able to make some decisions and learn from mistakes. And sometimes, unfortunately, there are a few of us who might be a little more hard-headed than others, and we don't learn from others people's mistakes. We have to do it ourselves. And I think it's really important for them to be able to stand up and realize that as youth, they can have so much influence. I mean, we talk about peer pressure. Well, when we hear peer pressure, we think automatically it's this negative, bad thing. But I've seen groups of kids use their influence for the positive, to be that guiding light, to say, you know what, that's probably not a good decision. Why don't you go do this with us?
Something we haven't explored yet is what makes someone vulnerable to being bullied.
Well, anytime someone is what we quote different, which, we all have our certain things that we think are different, And so sometimes just being different, or even, we used to think it was just the small kids or, the weak that get bullied, but there's great top 10% students that get bullied on the other way because they're smart and they're working hard, and so people are saying stuff about them and to them and doing stuff, on social media to bring them down. And so kids just, there's not like one face you can put on it. It's just...
Yeah, and we've talked some about what makes someone vulnerable to bullying. What makes someone vulnerable to behaving in a bullying way? Like if you're a parent and you're trying to figure out what's going on with your child, maybe your child is having some experience, but they're actually inciting some of those experiences. How would you be able to know that and intervene on that side of it?
As a parent, I mean, it's communication. Mm-hmm. And if somebody sees something that I don't see or knows something that I don't know, communicating and letting us know so that we can help and we can really have that fantastic partnership. Mm. I mean, that's the key part right there. And whether you're the bully or being bullied, it's extremely important for kids to understand that they are of value. Mm-hmm. And that they have worth. And when we see, and even adults too, when we try to get our worth from social media posts or, popularity or likes or pieces like that, our worth is beyond that. and that sense of identity and where our worth comes from. Oftentimes, we have boys and girls and young men and young ladies walking our hallways that don't understand how valuable they are. Mm-hmm. And when you have an absence or a lack of understanding that value, you can be susceptible to bullying because I deserve that. I deserve those mean comments, or if you're issuing out those mean comments or actions, you don't realize that, hey, I'm better than that, and the person I'm saying these things to or doing this to, they're better than this too, and it's about building each other up. And so that understanding how highly prized and highly valued each of the students that we serve are, and our kids, not all of our kids understand how valuable that.
And that it's not an inevitable that you're going to carry the burden of having bullied or being a bully through your life. It can have that impact, but interventions now can make a big difference for later on. Carry it around. Is that correct? Or
I think so. Because,
and we also have some very good sponsors that were more than willing to jump in. And I'm not trying to plug them right now, but I want the students to realize that it's not just the radio station, it's not just the people here in this room, it's not just the teachers, it's people in the community that also care about them. They have a heart for these kids, or they wouldn't be spending their wealth or their money and their time to support this project.
Next week on Student Lives and Student Voices, we'll explore interventions and reporting options available to students and parents.
CTEC is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. From lighting up your homes to powering local businesses, we've been your reliable source of energy for over 75 years. But CTEC is not just about electricity. From sponsoring local school programs to supporting community events, Central Texas Electric Co-op is all about giving back. In fact, concern for community is one of our guiding principles. With every flip of the switch, we're working together to build a brighter future. Visit our website or drop by our office today. Central Texas Electric Co-op, powering homes, empowering communities.
This is Steve Maxwell, Sales Director here at HC Broadcasting. And I'm careful about giving personal endorsements, but Ken Stoepel Ford in Kerrville is a no-brainer. I recommend them without reservation. My wife bought the last truck we purchased from Ken Stoepel, and she told me she will never buy from another car dealer. They won't be satisfied until you are happy with the service you receive. That's why Ford Motor Company gave them their President's Award. Ford dealers get this when they meet or exceed customer expectations in every department. They also give back to Hill Country schools and communities. I asked my friend Terry Massey, their general manager, if they would help with our radio show about bullying. He didn't ask me what Ken Stoepel would get out of the sponsorship. He just said, sign us up. That's the Stoepels I know. The next time you need a vehicle or service, go see the folks that really care about people in the Hill Country. Go see Ken Stoepel Ford. Find them at stoepelford.com.
Totality Over Texas has the Eclipse gear that'll set you apart from the crowd. Their Texas-inspired Eclipse glasses are not just safe, they're ISO certified, they're also stylish. No more boring science glasses. It's time to show off your Texas pride with designs that are as unique as you are. Visit totalityovertx.com, that's totalityovertexas.com, and enter code KFAN and take 15% off Eclipse glasses. We want to make sure that any of our listeners understand help is available from many sources. There is always hope, and nothing is inevitable. There are school counselors, reporting systems at schools, and even help through hotlines such as the 988 system. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, call 988 for assistance, or contact Texas Health and Human Services at 855-937-2372 to talk to a trained professional. Tune in each Sunday in September at 5 p.m. for a new episode of Student Lives, Student Voices. Watch our social media for more opportunities to listen to the series and for times and topics for episodes coming up throughout the 2023-2024 school year. If you're interested in sharing your story or are a student interested in becoming involved in producing the show, please contact us at knafnews@gmail.com. This has been Student Life, Student Voices, brought to you by Ken Stoepel Ford in Kerrville,
Central Texas Electric Co-op, Joseph Financial Partners in Fredericksburg, Medical Arts Pharmacy in Kerrville, and Totality Over Texas in Stonewall.